I'm Mike Hiserman, Deputy Sports Editor of the Los Angeles Times, and we have a college football season about to start tomorrow, scheduled to start, and we have yet more Josh Shaw news out of USC today. And with us to talk about it, give us her insights, Lindsey Thiry, has been with us the last 2 weeks as a USC reporter and blogger. And Lindsey, what is the latest on Josh Shaw today, the story that just won't quit?
Yeah, it really is the story that won't quit today. Josh now being investigated for domestic violence. There was an event at his apartment, at the Orsini Apartments, on Saturday night. Josh may or may not have been involved. The latest reports, a man fitting his description was seen on a balcony, coming down a balcony. His lawyers confirmed that he fell off a balcony. So at this point, the dots haven't been all connected, but Josh Shaw now being investigated for domestic violence.
Right. And we should say, you know, that the police have said that to this point they know of no wrongdoing by Josh Shaw, but it is a story just that USC has been dealing with the football team along with Mr. Shaw all week long. They have a game that we're about 28 hours from starting tomorrow. And what does that do to USC football, and just in terms of distractions?
Well, the media showed up Tuesday morning thinking we were going to talk to Josh Shaw. He was going to be a hero. We're going to get this hero story, and his teammates are going to react and be happy. And then all of a sudden, Steve Sarkisian says this story is being vetted. And suddenly what was going to turn into maybe a day distraction over their hero teammate has turned into a week-long saga that really just hasn't ended. And it's not just locally in Los Angeles. NBC's Today Show, the Good Morning America, Inside Edition, they've all been out to practice. So this has turned into a situation where USC hasn't been asked about football all week. Now it's all about Josh Shaw and what maybe did not happen, and how USC decided to release this story. Right.
And let's back up a little bit and explain to people who may have not been paying attention or perhaps visited Mars in the last week. What was the Josh Shaw story? The
Josh Shaw story was that he sprained both of his ankles jumping off a balcony, a second-story balcony, to rescue his 7-year-old nephew in a pool because his nephew looked like he was in distress. So Josh jumped off the balcony, injured himself, crawled into the pool, grabbed the nephew, and managed to get him to safety.
And this was at a family gathering, presumably in Palmdale.
Presumably in Palmdale, which is where Josh is from, and he makes the trip home, so he tells us now, multiple times a week to help his family business, mowing lawns. And so, how do you say, when the story first came out, it wasn't that unbelievable. I mean, I thought it was actually perfectly believable. Josh goes to Palmdale all the time. Josh is has been one of the most stand-up guys on the USC football team. So when you hear that this is just the latest great thing he did, pretty believable.
Pretty believable. And how did that story break?
That story broke through USC. They had the information that Josh told them about how he sprained his ankles, and USC published a story about 3:30 Monday afternoon on their USC blog. They tweeted it out. Obviously, if we're all staring at social media, which we were, the Emmys were going on that night, so social media was going crazy about Hollywood, and suddenly you see this hero story. You click on the blog, and it's like, wow, Josh Shaw just saved a life. And that's the sort of thing that's going to go viral, the star cornerback at USC.
And unfortunately, Josh wasn't available to talk to the rest of the media. Coach Sarkisian, Steve Sarkisian, was not available to speak to the media about that. It was put on the website. It was tweeted out by the school. I know our reporter, other USC reporter, Gary Klein, spoke to Josh's father, who gave us a story that, oh, well, that sounds like Josh, but he was not at, he told us, James Shaw, that he was not at the family gathering, so he wasn't an eyewitness. You know, to back up to football, Josh was supposed to be a starting cornerback.
Right.
How big of a hit just losing him as a football player?
It's a huge hit. He was a team captain. He was a starting cornerback. If you've been following USC football for the last few years, you know it's been a problem position for them. He came in to play safety. Lane Kiffin moved him to corner. The next season, Josh will put you back at safety. They had to move him back to corner because they don't have anybody to fill that role. This season they said, you're going to be our corner. And so he had basically one side of the field locked down. If you're an opposing quarterback, you're not going to throw the ball to Josh Shaw's side of the field. So this is huge for USC's defense.
Right.
Now, they have talent there, but it's all young talent. Nobody has the experience that Josh has.
So Josh probably having injured himself, and now it appears, well, his attorney has acknowledged that it took place at the downtown apartment. Whatever happened, although nobody's quite said yet what exactly did happen. So we think it was just a case that he really didn't want to fess up to his coach.
Right.
How he got injured.
Right, haven't we all kind of done something where we kind of maybe tell our parents or tell somebody, well, the dog ate my homework?
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a tall tale that he told,
right,
jumping off a balcony to save a kid.
Right.
But at some point, I think we've all gone to somebody and said, well, I wasn't here because this is what I was doing.
Right. And now, that hasn't been the only distraction for USC's football team this week. There was another incident yesterday involving a player no longer on the team named Anthony Brown. What can you tell us about that?
So Anthony Brown put out a post on his Instagram yesterday morning when the Trojans were at practice, calling Steve Sarkisian a racist, saying that Steve Sarkisian treated him like a slave when Anthony was in Sarkisian's office. Anthony Brown didn't respond to phone calls, but Steve Sarkisian decided to come down into the media room at USC to announce that he had quit the team and to also defend himself against Anthony Brown's racist claims. Teammates jumped on Twitter and said, Steve Sarkisian's not a racist. I spoke with a couple of the guys on the team after Steve Sarkisian said, feel free to ask anybody. So we did, and they said they've never heard anything racist come out of his mouth. They've never felt uncomfortable with how he presents any sort of information in any kind of racist manner.
Now, Steve Sarkisian's been at USC before, was the offensive coordinator, went up to the University of Washington, took over a really downtrodden program there and turned that program into a winner. He comes back to USC, a lot of excitement. What's he been like this last week in terms of how he's handled these distractions? I'm sure that you guys are out there asking him about this being a distraction.
Sure.
And how's he handled it?
It was interesting Tuesday morning because Steve Sarkisian's usually one of the last on the practice field. Tuesday morning, he was the first coach out the tunnel to go out onto the practice field. And, you know, practice has appeared to run normal. There's been energy. It looks like game week on the practice field. When he comes off the field, though, it's been a different Steve Sarkisian this week than we've experienced because he wants to talk about football. And so he'll say, I'm going to open, I'll talk about football, and I'll eventually get to whatever question, or I'll make a statement about Josh Shaw. Well, he talks about football, and right away he's peppered with questions.
Right.
What about Josh this? What about Josh that? You know, he has a sports information director who's saying, let's get back to football. We usually talk to Steve. He's a very long-winded coach. It's 10 minutes maybe. This week, 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes before he's out of there. And he even said the other day, can we get back to football? And nobody wants to get back to football because this is a major story.
Right. Okay, we're going to touch on football a little bit.
There is a game tomorrow.
There is a game tomorrow, right. So we're going to see a little bit of a new look USC. People are used to the Trojan quarterback taking the snap from center and power football, and now it appears that USC is on the verge of joining kind of the rest of college football in being a little bit more spread out and certainly running a lot quicker.
It's a lot quicker. In between plays, I know those coaches are yelling, hurry up, hurry up. Those guys are running down the field on offense. One play's done, play's dead, you better be down on the next hash mark, getting ready to go. Cody Kessler is in the shotgun. That didn't look like it was going to go so well for the first week and a half or so with the center snapping the ball. It looks better. For a while, the first week of camp, they're throwing a lot of perimeter passes. We've seen a little bit more of the old SC going deep downfield to some of their big offensive targets. So the offense, if you blink, you might miss something if they execute it Saturday how they've planned to.
So not exactly Oregon, but
not exactly Oregon,
but USC on a really, really, really fast treadmill.
Yes.
Okay.
It still resembles a pro-style offense. It's very fast.
Okay, so USC opens the season tomorrow, 4:30 at the Coliseum against Fresno State. Lindsey will be there. Please check with LATimes.com throughout the day today and into tomorrow and always for news on USC football.